Josh Giddey has been really good in his rookie year. He's been around the standard stats-wise that I thought he would be, but just watching him play, I think he has been even better than I thought he would be. And I was relatively high on Giddey going into the draft. And I do want to talk about him in today's video, as he is somebody that has been a big talking point on this channel over the past few years, and I have multiple videos about him. A lot of my better videos are about Giddey, so take that for what it's worth. But before we do get into today's video, if you're new and you like basketball, really think you would love this channel. Haven't already, like, subscribe, hit notification bell, be notified whenever I release a video. I make videos like this, just talking to you about basketball, giving you my authentic thoughts, so if that's something that interests you, this is the channel for you. Let's try to get 100 likes on this video so YouTube will recommend it to others. I'm trying to reach 5,000 subscribers by the end of the year, so doing all those things would be a big help to me. But let's get right into it. So Josh Giddey this season is averaging 10.5 points per game, 6.7 rebounds per game, and 5.9 assists per game on 40.3% from the field, 27.6% from 3, 67.9% from the free throw line, with a 12.7 PER. These are around the numbers I expected him to average. If I remember correctly, I said he was actually going to average around like 8 to 9 points, like 5 rebounds and 4 assists. The assist numbers being a bit lower just because of the fact that I wondered, who was going to pass it to outside of Say, but he's found ways to make it work, and I do think when you watch him play, you can tell he makes those around him better, which is what all great passers do. He's a very creative passer, he's a very accurate passer, very smart passer, just has a bunch of stuff that he does as a passer that are really good, especially for someone that's only 19, and just turned 19 a few months ago, mind you. 5.9 assists and 2.9 turnovers. You look at the play-by-play, and a lot of these are bad pass turnovers. A majority of them are, but there are handle turnovers as well. I will say that the handle hasn't been great. It's been manageable from what I've seen, but I do think that it's the swing factor for him. What I mean by this is Giddey doesn't create a lot of separation off the dribble. To put it bluntly, he's not the quickest guard in the world. He is much more craft than athleticism, to say the least. It's not like he's a bad athlete, per se. It's not like he can't jump, he can't do a bunch of stuff, but compared to, maybe some other young guards, he doesn't quite stack up. He does make up for this from being a legit 6'8". He may look like he's 6'7", but he is a legit 6'8", because of the fact that he does have a bit of a posture problem. It is something I think I've seen improve a bit, but it is noticeable that early on throughout the NBL that, he did have a bit of a posture problem. A lot of young players do. It makes me wonder, was Giddey, just growing at a rapid rate? It is something that you do notice, but he is where he is now, 6'8", 210 pounds. Playing that off-guard role next to, say, Gilgeous-Alexander, which is the role I think he's best at right now, because I think Giddey has tools to be a primary, as far as just his ability to pass, but the handle isn't quite there yet. Maybe the handle will improve, maybe it won't. I think handle is a bit harder to improve on than some people think it is, but, we'll see. The shooting, though, let's get to the shooting and the scoring in general, which is the second biggest swing factor for him. 10.5 points a game is pretty good. Very Lonzo Ball-esque rookie stat line. It's very similar to what Lonzo did. Lonzo had a few more rebounds and a slightly more assists, but it's very similar. Lonzo averaged 10, 7, and 7, and Giddey's averaging 10, 7, and 6. So it's pretty close, and the efficiency is really close as well. Giddey just isn't wired to score. You look at the scoring games that he has and the game log that he has. It's not wired to score a lot. I will say that I've been impressed by some of his field goal attempts that he's taken. He's taken more three-pointers in some games. He's taken more shots overall, getting 13 to 15 shots up a night on certain occasions. It's a good sign for his confidence, I would say. I still think there are concerns to say the least, as a scorer. Because scoring really limits his ceiling right now, just to be quite honest with you, because even though I think there are scoring signs here, there are encouraging flashes, he just isn't a good scorer right now, and, flashes versus flashes, you gotta put it all together. The scoring ability is important in passing. It may sound confusing when I say that, to think that something like scoring, which seems to be the opposite of passing as far as offense goes, it matters though, it truly does. Because if you can't score, or at least be a threat to score consistently, teams will just play the pass. And when teams play the pass, it makes it harder for you to make the pass, and it forces you to do something that you maybe aren't as good at. A lot of the best passers in the league have some form of scoring ability. Luka Doncic has an ability to score at a high level. Trae Young has an ability to score at a high level. LaMelo Ball has shown way ahead of schedule, I would say, that he can get you, 20 a night. That's not all though. Even you look like Chris Paul, who's an older example. Chris Paul was a threat to score. Chris Paul could get you a 40-point game. It's important that you have a scoring ability to keep the defense on edge. It's something I preach a lot. I'll probably talk about it in a video I do about LaMelo down the line. But that's what makes LaMelo such a great passer, is it's not just about the passing. It's about the scoring, being a threat that opens up more opportunities as a passer, and he knows it. But this video isn't about LaMelo Ball, obviously, it's about Josh Giddey. Do I think Josh Giddey could get to a Trae Young level? No. Trae Young is one of the better young scoring guards, especially at his size, among small guards, ever. Among small guards, I would argue Trae Young is already among the best to ever do it. And yeah, Luka Doncic. Luka Doncic has been an incredible scorer since entering the league, even with his bad shot selection. I think those are high bars to reach. I think, again, LaMelo even is a high bar to reach just because of what LaMelo has shown early on. LaMelo is a much better shooter with, way more volume. Giddey doesn't look to shoot a lot, especially from 3. You'll notice that he only takes about 3.5 a game, which is higher than, you might expect. Shoots 27.6% of the field. I guess it is encouraging that he can take an open 3. But you want to see this improve in order to maximize his ceiling. Now, will he maximize his ceiling? That's hard to say. That's just something that it's hard to predict early on. I mentioned in the Anthony Edwards video, it's way too early. Giddey's played 22 games in the NBA. It's going to take a while to figure this out. Now, I will say, 66.7% from the paint is pretty good for a rookie, given the physical limitations that he kind of has as far as strength goes. Only takes about 18.9% of his shots here, but, the highest percentage of his shots being from 3 to 10 feet, being at a respectable rate, respectable efficiency, I should say, and then the mid-range numbers just being solid overall, minus the 16 to 3-point range. Doesn't take a lot of mid-range shots. Mid-range shots aren't great. He scores a lot at the basket, in between area, as far as closer to the basket, but not quite long 2 range. And he takes a decent amount of threes as well, I would say. There is a baseline here. There is. For him to improve as a scorer. Because, again, he's super young. He's 19. I think that there have been more encouraging signs than I thought he would. But, I just still don't know if he's going to maximize his potential, which is okay. Not everyone does maximize their potential. And considering Giddey plays alongside SGA, we'll see how the whole situation with SGA pans out, because anything could happen there. That's a whole weird situation that might get its own video sometime down the line. But Giddey fits really well with, say, Gilgeous-Alexander, just because of the fact that Gilgeous-Alexander, I know he's having a bit of a down year, but he's a very good scorer, and he's proven that in the past. I know, again, the down year compared to a small sample size the year before, but even before that, his first year in OKC, he showed a lot of potential as a scorer. Showed a lot of production as a scorer as well. for me, it's just a perfect fit because I think, Giddey can fluctuate between being a 1 and a 2. Maybe play some 3 if he bulks up a bit. I don't know about that though. Gilgeous-Alexander can play 1 and 2 as well. And the roles aren't set completely. I think Say will have the ball in his hands more just because I think the handle's a bit better, the scoring's a lot better. So maybe he's probably your primary guy, but Giddey might be your primary passing playmaker. It's interesting. It's hard to explain. I'm kind of wording it really kind of similar to like De'Aaron Fox and Tyrese Halliburton, where the best passer on the team isn't, the primary. And I think that's the case because Gilgeous-Alexander's more of a 2 guard and he can play some point, where Giddey, he's playing the 2 right now just based off like what the lineups they have, but you can tell that he has some point guard skill, so that's interesting. I always love talking about stuff like that. But what do I think Giddey can be? Well, right now he's shown he can be a 10, 7, and 6 guy. Granted, the OKC Thunder aren't a good team. There aren't a lot of guys ahead of him or behind him that will take his spot. There's a reason he started. He went top 6 in the draft. I thought he was a top 5 player in the draft. Goes 1 pick below that. And, he's been good. Like 10, 7, and 6 as a rookie is good. I don't care what the efficiency is. And he's shown a lot of potential as a passer, a lot of substance as a passer. And I think as a scorer, there are indicators there that he could at least get to the level of being enough of a threat that the defense has to take you seriously instead of just backing off. This isn't like a situation where he's a non-shooter or, he just doesn't like to score. Because he's shown he will try to score. But the handle's kind of limiting him right now. I think teams are taking advantage of that. And we'll see how these things improve with these. But I love Josh Giddey. At the very least, he's going to be in the league for a long time. I just don't see a player with this kind of passing skill, the basketball feel that he has for the game. Like, I just don't see a way that this doesn't work out at some form in the league for a majority of his career. And meaning that, like, he gets a second contract. I think he's going to be a second contract player. That's very much, like, clear to me, even with 22 games played. But what could he be? That's another story. There are a bunch of alleyways that he could go, and I'm interested to see throughout the next few years which one ends up being the alleyway that he ends up taking in the player that he becomes in the NBA, hopefully for a very long time.